told you it was love. They convinced you it was normal. They made you believe the problem was you. But somewhere beneath the confusion, the self-doubt, the endless explanations that never quite made sense, you knew something was wrong. This is where we stop pretending. This is where we examine what they never wanted you to see. The patterns that controlled you, the systems that protected them.
We all prefer things a certain way, like groceries. If you want groceries just how you like them, you gotta try Instacart. They have a new preference picker that lets you pick how ripe or unripe you want your bananas. Shoppers can see your preferences upfront, helping guide their choices. Because when it comes to groceries, the details matter. Instacart. Get groceries just how you like.
Mom, I saw Dylan's dad make dinner. Actually cook, and it was straight fire. He said it was Blue Apron Assemble and Bake. All the ingredients showed up pre-chopped, and he just laid it out on a baking sheet, and no cap. Dinner was on the table in 25 minutes. Apparently, it's chef designed, and it has over 40 grams of protein. That's a lot, right? So maybe we try it. Just saying. You can be the next Dylan's dad. Blue Apron. Get $50 off your first 2 orders plus free shipping with code STIR50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
If you've ever found yourself saying, "I'm sorry" for things you absolutely didn't do, like apologizing when the parent who scapegoated you was the one constantly breaking family rules, or feeling the need to say sorry after a partner who deflects blame turned a simple disagreement into your fault, you're not alone. This automatic response isn't weakness or confusion on your part. It's a learned survival mechanism that developed in a system where someone else's comfort mattered more than truth. Welcome back to the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'm Lynn, your host. Today we're diving into why scapegoats develop this compulsive need to apologize for things they didn't cause, didn't create, and aren't responsible for. We'll explore how this pattern develops and what it really means when you find yourself taking the blame for someone else's chaos. In narcissistic family systems and relationships, scapegoats are conditioned to absorb guilt that isn't theirs. This happens because the person in power needs a convenient target to maintain their sense of superiority and avoid accountability. When someone can't handle being wrong or confronting their own behavior, they need somewhere to put that discomfort. The scapegoat becomes the emotional dumping ground. This conditioning starts early. You might have been blamed for the family's financial stress, your parents' marriage problems, or even a sibling's bad behavior. The message was clear. When something goes wrong, it's somehow connected to you. Even when logic said otherwise, the emotional weight of constant blame made you internalize responsibility for problems you didn't create. The person who scapegoated you needed you to believe their version of reality. If they could convince you that their anger was justified, their chaos was your fault, their emotional instability was a reaction to something you did, then they never had to examine their own behavior. Your willingness to apologize and accept blame kept their world intact. This pattern doesn't stay contained to one relationship. You might find yourself apologizing to bosses for their poor planning, to friends for their bad moods, to romantic partners for their inability to communicate clearly. The conditioning runs so deep that you'll scan situations looking for ways you might be at fault, even when you know intellectually that you're not. You might have experienced apologizing for someone else's explosive reaction to normal feedback, or saying sorry when a family member got angry that you couldn't read their mind about what they needed. Maybe you've apologized for setting a boundary that inconvenienced the person who regularly disrespects yours. The confusion runs deeper when you realize you're often apologizing for having normal human needs or responses. You say sorry for being hurt when someone treats you badly. You apologize for needing time to process information before making decisions. You feel guilty for not being available every time someone demands your attention. This compulsion to apologize serves the other person's need to avoid responsibility. When you automatically take the blame, they don't have to examine their role in conflicts or consider how their behavior affects others. Your apologies become a shield protecting them from accountability. The psychological mechanism at work is projection combined with conditioning. The person avoiding their own responsibility projects their discomfort onto you, and over time, you've learned to accept it rather than fight it. Fighting meant escalation, punishment, or being told you're selfish, ungrateful, or difficult. Apologizing meant temporary peace, even if it came at the cost of your sense of reality. You weren't born with an overdeveloped sense of guilt. You were taught that your job was to make others comfortable, even when their discomfort stemmed from their own choices and behavior. You learned that questioning blame placed on you was dangerous, that defending yourself was futile, that accepting fault was the path of least resistance. But here's what they didn't want you to realize. Your compulsion to apologize isn't evidence that you're actually at fault. It's evidence that you were trained to prioritize someone else's emotional comfort over your own sense of reality. Every automatic "I'm sorry" is actually proof of how much emotional labor you were forced to carry for someone who refused to carry their own. The person who trained you to apologize for their mistakes never intended for you to recognize this pattern. They needed you to believe that your guilt was justified, that your responsibility for their emotions was natural, that your role as the family or relationship problem solver was just who you are. You're not responsible for managing other people's emotions about their own behavior. You're not required to apologize for existing, for having needs, for not being psychic, or for their inability to handle normal relationship dynamics. Their anger at your boundaries doesn't make your boundaries wrong. Their discomfort with accountability doesn't make you accountable for things you didn't do. When you notice yourself automatically apologizing, that's valuable information. It's showing you where you've been conditioned to accept responsibility that isn't yours. It's revealing the invisible emotional labor you've been carrying. It's pointing to relationships where the balance of accountability is completely skewed. Here's something to think about. When you notice yourself apologizing, can you trace back whose mistake or behavior you might really be covering for? What does this reveal about the balance of accountability in your relationships? Your automatic apologies might be protecting someone else from facing the consequences of their own choices. Thanks for being here today and for doing this work. I know talking about scapegoating brings up a lot, and I'm honored you're trusting me with this part of your journey. Before we wrap up, I want to make sure you know about the resources available to support your healing. If you're finding value in these episodes, we have ad-free versions and bonus content over on Supercast at narcissisticabuserecovery.supercast.com. For deeper work, I've created Forward Rising Academy with an intro to narcissistic abuse recovery course, plus somatic healing audio sessions and a grief recovery workbook. You can find all of those at waketheelephant.gumroad.com. And for additional resources, visit our website at movingforwardafterabuse.com. This is Lynn, and this has been another episode of the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'll see you in the next one. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. The content shared is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, please seek help from a qualified professional or contact a local crisis hotline.
To tip off this NBA season on FanDuel, you can choose your own rewards, which means you can play your game any way you want.
I get to choose my rewards?
Yep.
Great! Now, excuse me while I lock in.
All customers choose your own reward right now in the FanDuel app. 21 plus and present in select states. 18 plus in Kentucky. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirement, and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This work is hard, really hard. Questioning everything you were taught, seeing systems that were invisible, sitting with truth that change how you see the world. It's exhausting and overwhelming sometimes. There's no timeline for this, no right way to process it. We've gone daily now because these conversations matter. Subscribe so new episodes land automatically when they drop.